Chapter 16. The Halloween festival was in full swing as Sabrina and Noah made their way through the crowded streets of Hallowville. Children in costumes darted between stalls, their laughter a stark contrast to the gravity of the situation Sabrina and Noah now faced. "We need to gather everyone," Sabrina said, her voice low as they navigated through the throng. "The town hall, maybe?" Noah nodded, already pulling out his phone. "I'll send out the alert. 20 minutes?" As Noah made the calls, Sabrina found herself studying the faces around her. The spirit's warning echoed in her mind. They walk among you, hidden in plain sight. Could one of these smiling neighbors be working against them? By the time they reached the town hall, a small crowd had already gathered. Penny Holloway was there, along with Mr. Thompson, Mayor Whitaker, and other key members of the community who had been brought into their confidence. Sabrina and Noah quickly shared their discoveries, showing the artifacts they'd retrieved from the hidden sanctuary. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the group as they explained the true nature of the curse. Not just a protection for the town, but a prison for an ancient, malevolent entity. "So what does this mean for tonight's ritual?" Mayor Whitaker asked, his brow furrowed with concern. Sabrina took a deep breath before answering. "It means we need to be even more careful. We're not just breaking a curse, we're potentially dealing with something far more dangerous. We need to modify the ritual to not only break the old curse, but immediately establish a new, stronger protection." The room erupted into discussion, fears and suggestions flying back and forth. Noah raised his hands, calling for calm. "I know this is a lot to take in," he said, his voice steady and reassuring. "But we've come too far to back down now. Hallowville has lived under this curse for generations. It's time we faced it head-on." His words seemed to rally the group. Soon, they were breaking into teams, each assigned specific tasks for the final preparations. Penny and Mr. Thompson took charge of modifying the ritual based on the new information from the grimoire. Mayor Whitaker coordinated with the festival organizers to ensure the town's festivities would align with their magical needs without raising suspicion. Sabrina found herself working with Lila and a group of local herbalists preparing the magical components they'd need for the ritual. As they worked, crushing herbs and mixing oils, Lila nudged Sabrina gently. "So, you and the sheriff, huh?" she said, a knowing smile on her face. "About time." Sabrina felt a blush creep up her cheeks. With everything that had been happening, she'd hardly had time to process the shift in her relationship with Noah. "Is it that obvious?" she asked. Lila chuckled. "Honey, the way you two look at each other, it's like watching fireworks. Good for you. Heaven knows we could use a little love story in the middle of all this craziness." As the afternoon wore on, Sabrina found moments to check in with Noah. Each time their eyes met across the room, she felt a surge of warmth and strength. They were in this together, partners in every sense of the word. During a brief lull in the preparations, they managed to steal a moment alone in the quiet of the mayor's office. "How are you holding up?" Noah asked, his hand gently cupping her face. Sabrina leaned into his touch, allowing herself a moment of vulnerability. "Honestly, I'm terrified. What if we're making a mistake? What if we unleash something we can't control?" Noah pulled her into an embrace, his strong arms a comfort she hadn't realized she desperately needed. "I'm scared too," he admitted. "But I believe in us, in this town. Whatever happens, we'll face it together." Sabrina looked up at him, seeing her own mix of fear and determination reflected in his eyes. Without thinking, she leaned in, their lips meeting in a kiss that was both tender and urgent. For a moment, the weight of their responsibilities fell away, leaving only the two of them, connected and strong. When they parted, Sabrina felt a renewed sense of purpose. "Thank you," she said softly, "for being here, for believing in this, in us." Noah smiled, the expression lighting up his face in a way that made Sabrina's heart skip. "Always," he replied. Their moment of peace was short-lived. A commotion from outside drew them back to the main hall, where they found a group of townsfolk in a state of agitation. "The pumpkins in the square," one woman was saying, her voice shaky. They're bleeding." Sure enough, when they went to investigate, they found the jack-o'-lanterns lining the town square, oozing a thick red substance that looked disturbingly like blood. The carved faces seemed to leer at them, their grins more menacing than cheerful. It's starting, Penny said, her voice grim. The veil is thinning, and the entity is testing its boundaries. As they worked to clean up the mess and calm the public, more reports of strange occurrences began to filter in. Shadows moving independently of their casters, whispers heard from empty rooms, objects floating or moving on their own. The tension in the town was palpable, an undercurrent of fear running beneath the surface of the Halloween festivities. Sabrina and Noah found themselves constantly reassuring people, balancing the need for caution with the desire to avoid a panic. As evening approached, the final preparations were nearly complete. The ritual site in the town square had been subtly prepared, magical sigils hidden within the Halloween decorations. The artifacts from the sanctuary were carefully placed, ready to be used when the time came. Exhausted but determined, Sabrina made one last trip to the library to collect a few final reference books. As she entered the building, a chill ran down her spine. Something felt off. She made her way to the hidden room, her senses on high alert. As she pushed open the secret panel, she gasped. The room was in disarray, books thrown from shelves, papers scattered across the floor. Heart pounding, Sabrina began to search the mess, looking for any clue as to what had happened. That's when she saw it, a message scrawled across the wall in what looked unsettlingly like blood. "Beware the wolf in sheep's clothing. The betrayer is among you." Sabrina stumbled back, her mind reeling. The spirit's warning came flooding back. Someone in town was working against them, seeking to unleash the entity for their own gain. But who? She quickly snapped a photo of the message and sent it to Noah, her hands shaking as she typed out a brief explanation. They had suspected there might be opposition, but this made it real in a way that sent fear coursing through her veins. As she waited for Noah's response, Sabrina began to gather the books she'd come for, trying to disturb the scene as little as possible. Each shadow, each creak of the old building made her jump. Her phone buzzed. Noah was on his way. Sabrina took a deep breath, trying to center herself. They had come too far to let fear overtake them now. Whatever threat lurked among them, they would face it together. As she left the hidden room, carefully securing the panel behind her, Sabrina cast one last look around the library. The building that had become her home, the town that had welcomed her, now felt alien and dangerous. But beneath the fear, a steely determination took root. Hallowville had weathered centuries under this curse. It had faced threats both mundane and supernatural. And now on this Halloween night, they would make their stand. Together, united, they would break the chains of the past and forge a new future. The sun was setting as Sabrina stepped out of the library, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. In just a few hours, they would begin the ritual that would determine the fate of Hallowville. And somewhere out there, hidden among the costumed revelers and smiling neighbors, was someone who wanted to see it all fall apart. Sabrina squared her shoulders, her eyes scanning the crowded street. Let them come, she thought. We're ready. As Noah's patrol car pulled up, lights flashing, Sabrina felt a surge of confidence. Whatever challenges lay ahead, whatever betrayals they might face, she knew one thing for certain. She was no longer alone. She had Noah, she had the town, and together they would face the night. The clock in the town square began to chime, marking the hour. The Halloween festival was reaching its peak. Unknowing participants in a drama centuries in the making. And beneath it all, the true battle for Hallowville's soul was about to begin.